Did you grow up watching the great American sitcom Leave It to Beaver? It was one of the best sitcoms in American history and told the story of the all-American family revolving around young Beaver Cleaver. It takes us back to an America that many of us miss and like to relive as we watch reruns of the show. Sadly, many of our favorite actors and actresses from the show have now passed away. Luckily, the immortality of TV lets us remember their talents. Let's look back on their remarkable lives and careers as we reminisce about Leave It to Beaver and its impact on American culture. The head of the Cleaver family was Ward Cleaver, played by Hugh Beaumont. Hugh was originally from Lawrence, Kansas, and went on to become a football star at the University of Chattanooga in Tennessee. He later received a master's degree in theology at University of Southern California. He began then his career as a clergyman and a lay minister. He began his acting career by participating in a Gateway to Hollywood competition. While this brought him acting gigs, at the time he wanted to prioritize his ecclesiastical duties over his acting work. In fact, at times he felt his acting work might conflict with his ideals as a man of God. Nevertheless, he continued taking acting gigs, making his name in many B movies during the 40s. However, the role of a lifetime came when he was cast as Ward Cleaver in the 1950s sitcom Leave It to Beaver. Americans could relate to Ward as the all-American dad who took care of his family and provided many of the show's best laughs. He continued to have bit parts in TV shows following the end of Leave It to Beaver. Unfortunately, in 1972, he suffered a stroke that made him take fewer roles. It was during this time that he showed off his writing chops, managing to sell several radio and TV scripts to producers. He passed away from a heart attack in 1982 while visiting his son Eric in Germany. They say behind every great man is a great woman. Behind Ward Cleaver, there was his wife June, played by the inimitable Barbara Billingsley. Like Hugh Beaumont, she lived a full life before delving into her role as June Cleaver. She had worked as a model and spent much of her time as a single mother. These experiences made her perfect to play the loving mother on Leave It to Beaver. She landed the role after having bit parts in films such as The Bad and the Beautiful and Three Guys Named Mike. She was adored by Leave It to Beaver fans for her role as June, and after the show ended, she had bit parts that were quite similar to the role. She died of polymyalgia at age 94 in Santa Monica, California. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, make sure you give it a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. Stick around for more about the Leave It to Beaver cast. Of course, not all characters in the show were entirely wholesome. Each show needs at least one troublemaker to add some conflict and heighten the laughter. The troublemaker in Leave It to Beaver came in the form of Eddie Haskell, played by Ken Osmond. Eddie was Wally Cleaver's best friend and responsible for the gang getting into trouble. It seems as if Ken Osmond was destined to be an actor from day one. He began his acting career at age 9 when he had a part in the film So Big, starring Sterling Hayden and Jane Wyman. This led to a series of bit parts in major films. He also had exposure to acting roles in TV early on. He had roles on shows such as The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet and The Loretta Young Show. In 1957, he was asked to audition for Eddie Haskell, who would be a one-off character in a new show called Leave It to Beaver. Ken auditioned several times before landing the role, but audiences loved Eddie Haskell. He eventually became one of the regular characters on the show, and it was the role that defined Ken Osmond. After the show ended, he continued to be typecast in similar roles. He took a long break from entertainment and worked as a police officer for the LAPD. After retiring from that, he returned to acting and had a few bit parts in films and TV shows. He also appeared as Eddie Haskell in reunion episodes of Leave It to Beaver. Osmond died in 2020 at age 76 from complications due to chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and peripheral artery disease. Another great character from Leave It to Beaver was Clarence Lumpy Rutherford, played by actor Frank Bank. Lumpy was another one of Wally's friends and was known to be the bully character, but Frank Bank was known to be a gentle and kind person. He had bit roles in TV shows and a couple of films before landing the role of Lumpy. This became the role he was most known for, and he didn't get many offers after the show ended. He retired from acting and began his career as a bond broker in LA. He did make appearances in the new Leave It to Beaver and Leave It to Beaver reunions. He died of cancer at the age of 71 in 2013. Lumpy Rutherford's father was Fred Rutherford, played by Richard Deakin. He was known for bit parts on shows like The Dick Van Dyke Show and The Jack Benny Program. He also had small roles in films like Lay That Rifle Down and Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Fred Rutherford was Ward Cleaver's obnoxious co-worker. His performance began the trope of the annoying co-worker that became a staple of so many sitcoms. Following Leave It to Beaver, Richard Deakin spent the rest of his career playing bit parts in feature films and popular shows. His film roles included work in Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, as well as other popular films like The Patsy, Deer Heart, Blackbeard's Ghost, and Bad Manners. His TV TV appearances outside Leave It to Beaver included roles in The Lucy and Desi Comedy Hour, Bonanza, Get Smart, and The Addams Family. He passed away at age 63 from cardiovascular disease in LA. The main cast of Leave It to Beaver had another actress with a similar background to Hugh Beaumont. Magg Blake was also from Kansas, and her father was a Methodist circuit rider who discouraged her from pursuing a career in acting. Nevertheless, she became known as one of the most prominent character actresses for American film and TV. In the 50s, she had roles in shows such as City Detective, The Ray Milland Show, and It's a Great Life. She also played the infamous gossip columnist Dora Bailey in the classic film Singin' in the Rain. She later had roles in The Real McCoys and The Jack Benny Program. Once she got the role as Margaret Mondello in Leave It to Beaver, she became a favorite to American audiences. Margaret was the mother to Larry Mondello, one of Beaver's closest friends. She beautifully played the role of the always nervous mother dealing with a not-so-bright son. As with Richard Deakin's portrayal of Fred Rutherford, Magg Blake's character became a popular trope for future American sitcoms. In addition to Leave It to Beaver, she had small parts in shows like Batman and I Love Lucy. She died in 1969 from a heart attack in Pasadena, California. From the main cast, Tony Dow, who played Wally, and Jerry Mathers, who played Beaver, are still with us. Tony never intended to be an actor, but after being spotted by a casting agent, he was asked to audition for Wally Cleaver. He became known as the older brother we all wished we had. Ironically, during the show's initial run, he never watched a single episode. He recalls the writers didn't want many of the child actors to watch the show, so that they didn't let fame get to their heads. Jerry Mathers will always be known as Theodore Beaver Cleaver, who represented the all-American boy. His portrayal of the character was impeccable, and will always be loved for representing a character from a bygone era. He was also a reluctant actor, yet he still managed to give one of the greatest performances in American sitcom history, and we're grateful for it. Are you a fan of Leave It to Beaver? Do you think many of the deceased cast members got their due? Or do you think we've forgotten about them and need to respect their legacy more? Let us hear your thoughts in the comments. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.